Our study of the Ten Commandments brings us to the third command. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Or, as we might summarize it, honor God's name. But what does this command mean? Let's start with the word vain. What does this word mean? This word has several different meanings. Here is the most common meaning in everyday conversation. Someone is vain if they are proud or conceited, always thinking about themselves. In the past, this was someone always looking in a mirror, always thinking about how they look. In our culture, this is someone always taking selfies. They want to be the center of every photo. They are always concerned about how they look. This is one meaning of the word vain, but it is not what the commandment means. This doesn't have anything to do with God and His name, although God does not want us to be vain. Another meaning of the word is something that doesn't work, something that doesn't succeed. If I drop a coin in the grass and I look for it, but I can't find it, I might say I looked for the coin in vain. My search was unsuccessful. It didn't work. A related meaning is the idea of something that's empty or frivolous. Someone says, here's a $20 bill. But when you take it, it's just play money. It's pretend. It's not real. Just kidding, they say. My words were empty. I was not serious. Those were vain words. More seriously, the word can mean deceitful. Sometimes people say, just kidding, when they really weren't kidding. They were just wrong. It was a mistake, or they were lying. They were trying to deceive. Those are vain words too. Dishonest words, false words are empty words. Promises that don't come true, words that don't work. These ideas are all kind of related. So back to the commandment, God is forbidding vain talk. But not just vain talk in general. Specifically, vain talk about God's name. There is another kind of bad talk that God hates, but it's not part of this commandment. This is what we call vulgar talk. This is talk about things that are bad or ugly, or things that are maybe not bad, but they should be kept private. Sometimes people say bathroom talk. This kind of talk is bad, and Ephesians tells us not to do it. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good, to the use of edifying. Vulgar talk is bad, but it doesn't involve God's name. So that's not what this commandment is actually about. God is talking about what we call profane talk. These are things that are related to God and religion. For example, the phrase, "Oh my God," has become common in our culture. But you can find this phrase in the Bible. King David said, "Oh my God, in you I trust." He is talking to God. He is thinking about God. This is a good use of God's name. But people say these same words when they are not even thinking about God. They are not talking to God. The words are empty. If those words are used in anger or as a curse, they are especially bad. But what if they are just an expression of surprise? Or what if I don't actually use God's name, but I use an abbreviation, or I use a substitute word? We call these minced oaths. Minced is from a word that means small. These are mini oaths. But they are empty too. They are still vain, and they are still not pleasing to God. You'll hear these words in another context. If you go to a law court as a witness, they will ask you to take an oath. This often includes the words, "So help me God." These words are not in vain. This is a promise before God to tell the truth. But what if you don't tell the truth? There is an old tradition that if you cross your fingers, you can tell a lie, and it doesn't matter. But that's not right. A lie is still a lie. The end of this commandment says, "The Lord will not hold him guiltless." If you promise to tell the truth and then you lie, you are guilty of breaking this commandment. Here is another way that our words can be vain or empty. Jesus told us, when you are praying, do not use meaningless repetition. In many religions, people say the same prayers over and over again, as if repeating them many times will be helpful. This is what prayer beads are for. Jesus is saying, don't pray that way. Those are just empty words. Even if you don't use beads, your prayers can be empty repeating of the same words over and over again. That is a kind of taking God's name in vain, in an empty way. And here is another way. When we call ourselves Christians, we are taking on the name of Christ. We are claiming to be a follower of Christ. But what if we are not truly a Christian? Or what if we are not living like a Christian? Then the name is wrong. It is empty. It is not true. Imagine that it's Sunday and you should be at church. But you don't really care about God. You're not interested in church. So you go to the beach instead. You are just having a big party. You are thinking about yourself and what you want to do. And someone asks you, aren't you a Christian? And you say, yes, I am a Christian. But those words are empty for you. You are not a true follower of Christ. You are breaking this commandment. You are claiming God's name, but it is vain. Do not take God's name in vain. This commandment is how we should not talk, but the Bible is also full of encouragements about how we should talk. So let us end this lesson with one of these commandments from Colossians 4:6. Let your speech always be with grace, as though seasoned with salt, so that you will know how you should respond to each person. As we talk to each other this week, let's not fill our conversation with empty talk about God or about anything else. Let your speech always be with grace.